All right, guys, welcome to Plates, Dates and Mates, episode 2, featuring Josh Day, a good PT, and I've known him for quite a while. How you doing, son?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. You?
Yeah, I'm all right, bro. I'm all right. All good.
Looking forward to it. It's been obviously in the books for a couple of weeks.
How are things for you anyway? Like, how's your training? How's your everything? What's your sort of routine like at the moment?
Really getting into my combat sports more and more as I go. So at the minute, I'm training probably like 10 to 12 times a week, which is probably a lot for some people. I'm doing kind of 5 to 6 weight sessions a week, and then doing jiu-jitsu twice a week and boxing twice a week as well.
That sounds like quite a heavy load. How are you like sustaining that? How are you keeping up with that?
I find my body has always had a really good recovery rate, to be honest with you. You know, when I was 19, 20 and I took up CrossFit, I was training 3 times a day, 6 days a week. So my body's always recovered quite well. I mean, I'm not 20 anymore, and I definitely know that. Like, there's some days when I wake up from some of my heavier jiu-jitsu sessions now, and I'm thinking, oh God, I'm a bit bad today. But I think the biggest key is just a lot of food and as much sleep as possible. I'm not going to sit here and say sleep's a big thing for me, because I'm rubbish at sleeping. And it's definitely my biggest thing that I need to work on this year in terms of recovery. You know, everyone knows the importance of it. But with my job, it's sometimes difficult.
Yeah.
You know, I get home, most nights I'm home about 9:15, and I've still got to eat dinner, cook dinner, eat dinner, and stuff like that. And then I'm up at 5. So 6 hours is my usual sleep. 5 to 6 hours, which is not enough. So I feel like when I can dial that in, I'll be even better. But recovery-wise, I feel pretty good, to be honest with you. I take my rest days when I need them, and I listen to my body. But strength-wise, everything's getting better. I'm getting a bit heavier. I'm trying to put on weight at the minute, so I am slowly getting heavier as well, which is nice. But it just means eating a lot of food. Doing that much training whilst trying to put on weight is nuts.
Hey, I see all them meals you're smashing, mate, on your TikTok, bro.
Yeah.
That could feed a fucking small family, mate.
Oh, it's unbelievable. My mum comes down, she's like, how much has you got food bill? Yeah, a little bit too much. Just a little bit too much.
It all looks nutritious. It all looks really good. And I think I'm not going to say trendy at the moment, but I think a lot of people are starting to see, and they're starting to realise how this sort of animal-based with added sort of unprocessed, natural, nutritious carbohydrates, nutritious meats, all these things. I think people are starting to understand, just from people like you and other people on social media, like sharing just their plates of food, really. Like, this is actually how a human should eat, you know?
Is I want that animal-based thing to be the forefront. And like you say, it's this thing of eating that well-rounded, balanced, healthy diet and that non-processed diet, you know? So I started a full animal-based diet at the start of the year, mainly because, I mean, I've tried every diet under the sun. I was vegetarian for about 3 years. I was fully vegan for 7-8 months, back when I was younger. I've been training a long time. I've done every diet there is to try.
I bet you felt like an absolute dried up, frizzled man on the vegan diet, surely.
I tell you what, because I'm not a liar. When I was vegetarian, I felt absolutely fine. I had no problems training. I mean, that's when I was doing my CrossFit. I recovered really well on my vegetarian diet, but the thing I've had for years is I've had like digestive issues and gut issues for as long as I can remember. I had it when I was vegetarian. I had it when I was vegan. Like, when I was being vegan, didn't fix it, didn't help it at all. Even when I was vegetarian, it didn't help it. And whilst I felt okay being vegetarian, I would definitely not sit here and bash that diet, because if you or if someone out there is eating that and they thrive on it, then who am I to tell them to change their diet? You know, one of my old coaches, who's a bodybuilder, he's fully vegan. He looks amazing. He's clearly in good health, because you couldn't look like he weren't. But if I ate like he did, I wouldn't ever get off the toilet, because my stomach would be awful. So kind of like towards the back end of last year, I was going to the doctor, and he was just giving me these tablets that I was going to have to take 20 minutes before food every meal.
Oh, right. I was
kind of thinking, I'm 25. I don't want to be on tablets. I don't want to have to like think about, am I going to need the toilet if I go out for a meal with my missus and things like that. So I just kind of was like, I've seen this animal-based diet everywhere. I already eat similar to it. I'm just going to be really strict on it and start at the start of the year. And yeah, I mean, 8-10 years of digestive issues were cleared up within like 3 weeks. You know, but before the end of January, I was fine. Like, absolutely fine. Have been ever since. It's nuts how much how different I feel and how much better I feel just eating or basing a lot of my meals on these animal products, eggs, meat, and things like that. And then, like you say, adding in tons of, I mean, I haven't had a vegetable in probably over 4 months now.
Yeah.
Which to a lot of people would be like, oh, health scare. But, you know, I'm eating tons of fruit, loads of meat for just good vitamins and minerals. I still need to get on the organ train. I'm taking organ supplements now from Heart and Soil, but I don't eat any as of yet.
Please tell me that's not Liver King's supplements.
It is, but I get it because of Carnivore.
It is.
Unfortunately, it is actually. Well, because I get Carnivore MD is the person I quite like. I don't agree with everything he says.
I like him as well. What, the account on Instagram?
Yeah. I think he puts out a lot of factual information. I know a lot of people go against him. I think it's up to you to do your due diligence on what you believe and why you think the way you think. It is unfortunately Liver King's thing. Actually, honestly, I haven't even clocked that until you just said it.
Yeah, no.
Because I just get the liver and the heart supplements at the minute, and then I will eventually start eating liver, but I'm yet to do it. It just it's not appealing, is it?
I've tried to go through a stage of eating liver a few times, and I've tried every way of eating it, and there's no way around it. If you like liver, I'm convinced that you are a freak. I'm not going to lie. It's frank. The third day I done it, I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to stick to my steak and eggs, get some sun. I'm sure I'll be all right.
And this is it. Like, I think a lot of it, they talk about, you know, you need it for all these vitamins, but a lot of those vitamins and minerals and whatnot are found in the meats. So if you're eating like good quality and a sufficient amount of the meat, I think you'll be absolutely fine. This is the best I've ever felt on any diet, no matter what diet I've done by a mile. And I think that's the important thing. Like I say, if you're thriving on something else, I would never tell you to stop doing that. But if you're having issues of any sort, autoimmune issues, eczema, psoriasis, gut issues, you know, things like that, or a bit of insomnia and whatnot, I would encourage you to try this diet, because all those things can be from nutrient deficiencies. So by doing this diet, or at least trying it, you're not going to lose anything, are you?
The food industry over the years, just like the pharmaceutical industry, I think people profit off people being sick. And
of course they do. They want you to be ill, mate. They want you to eat crap. All about money. The world is run by money. So it's this thing of, you know, if we encourage shit food, you'll have shit health, which then means you'll need these procedures and whatnot and this healthcare. So therefore everyone's making money. You know, it's, you know, massive in America where it's all private healthcare and whatnot. But they were saying, I think it was, you should be eating more Cheerios than you should steak and eggs.
Yeah, I saw that.
And when someone's telling you that, or like Lucky Charms were healthier than steak and like a good egg, and you're just thinking, if someone's telling you that and you believe it, then more for you. Whole foods are obviously the better choice when it comes to your health. And if you're listening to these people that are telling you these things, then I don't know what to tell you, you know. There's being a bit naive, and then there's being probably a bit arrogant to the fact that you don't want to listen because they're easier and nicer choices in some way, because that's what leads to poor health. And everyone's like, yeah, but, you know, I don't want to spend my life in the gym. My life's too short, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, you will want to when you're feeling crap.
Illness and disease, and you're sitting on the toilet, can't go for a shit, things like that.
Exactly. Or you're sat in hospital with diabetes and heart disease because you've stuffed your face all your life, and now
For someone that's just starting out in fitness and health, and they're trying to do the number one thing of controlling their calories, okay. But if your goal is to strive for the best health possible, just checking your macros, it's not enough. You need to eat whole, quality, unprocessed food. And when I started doing that, I'm not even joking, like my body fat went lower, I had more energy, I was hitting PRs in the gym like crazy, everything was better, like everything was better. And if your pursuit is to perform in the gym, build muscle or whatever, why would you not want to enhance that just by switching up a few foods?
I started this really strict, you know, so from the start of the year to the end of March, I didn't cheat once. I didn't have like a single gram of food that wasn't part of this animal-based diet, just to see how I felt on it. And yeah, I completely agree with you. My body fat's dropped. I'm actually leaner now than I was when I was at the end of my cut in the summer. I'm bigger.
That is crazy what you've just said. So now, Josh, on your maximum bulk phase, you are leaner than your maximum cut last year. Is that correct?
Yeah. Like I could put a picture, like I could send them through to you if you want, and then you can
yeah.
next to each other on the screen. Yeah, literally. I'm probably 6 kilos up nearly, so I was 69.5 or 6 this morning.
Yeah.
I was 64, and I'm leaner now. Like I had more of a tan in the summer, but that's it. Like my arms are leaner, and it's all the little things. Like I can see way more vascularity through my shoulders, more striations in my delt. I've got more abs showing now for it and whatnot. And it's things like that. It's this, I'm 100% leaner. And yeah, I do other things as well, but I would put 99% of that down to my diet. And I think a lot of it is actually the fact that I digest my food properly now. You know, I had these digestive issues all the way up till last year for years. The amount of food I was eating and probably not actually taking any nutrition from because of these digestive issues. And now I do digest my food properly. I'm actually probably 10 times healthier and feel a million times better.
Just for a little disclaimer, me and Josh aren't saying, guys, that you can eat like whatever amount of calories you want and you won't like gain weight. We're not saying that.
Definitely not.
We're saying that if you have a controlled diet, even if you're in a calorie surplus, the amount of fat that you will gain on a unprocessed natural diet we can both confidently say, in our opinion, I think that most confidently the amount of fat you will gain will be minimal compared to a processed diet filled with things that irritate your gut. Now, everyone is different, but from what Josh was saying and from my own personal opinion, like when I used to eat like bread and pasta, mate, that would, for example, that would literally sit in my stomach and I would feel that for ages. And if your body doesn't digest that properly, there's only one place that food's going, to your body. I might not be entirely correct there because, of course, calorie balance is number one, but food quality is number two. Like, that is just the way it is. And what I say to my clients, I go by like the 80-20 rule because I don't want to be a complete prick and say you can't have things you like. But I say 20% of your weekly calories, you can have what you want as long as they're within your calorie budget. Yeah. But the other 80% should be in the pursuit of building muscle and being healthy. But it doesn't have to be bland, boring food. Like,
no, definitely not.
It can be nice, and that's the thing people get mistaken.
I mean, if you really wanted to go into the nitty gritty of it, it's obvious in my opinion. You know, there's everything down to the more whole foods you eat, whether it's vegan, vegetarian, like animal based, the more whole foods you eat, and the less processed crap. There's everything from it's going to create a healthier testosterone balance and hormonal balance overall. Therefore, you're going to be more efficient with your MPS and therefore more efficient at building muscle overall. And the more muscle mass you have, the more calories you burn daily because muscle mass burns more calories than fat on your BMR. So therefore, you're going to burn more calories overall in your TDEE. So having more muscle mass is good. Having higher testosterone is good. Eating more whole foods will create a better testosterone profile. Then you've got the other side of it of it's going to help you sleep better sleep. Again, there's been sleep studies that have shown, like even if you're cutting, when like you could lose the same amount of weight over 6 months, but if you've got someone that's sleeping less than 6 hours and someone that's sleeping more than 6 hours, they might lose the same amount of weight overall, but the percentage of muscle mass in that weight, the person sleeping more will retain more because they just have a better testosterone profile. So again, those whole foods are affecting that directly. Then you've got the TEF effect. You know, generally, if you're eating more whole foods and especially more animal based, you're more likely going to eat more protein, which has the highest TEF effect of any food. So therefore, you're going to burn more calories to digest those foods. So although you're eating 4,000 calories, say, compared to someone else that's eating 4,000 calories, if you're eating an extra 100 grams of protein, your TEF is going to be higher. So you're actually burning more calories throughout the day. You then get your energy levels. If you're moving more and you feel better in general, you're going to move more, which is going to burn more calories. It's just going to keep you in a more balanced way. So while some people might be on the same caloric surplus, the quality of their food makes a massive difference to things that build muscle and therefore you like decide your body composition. So it could be this thing of just eating a surplus and you'll be fine. But in my opinion, and from personal experience, you can 100% build more muscle by being stricter and have less body fat on the same amount of calories as someone else, if that makes sense.
And who wouldn't want to do that? Every wants that exact result, especially if you're a natural guy. Like, yeah, that is the one important way to maximize the results that you want. Because every lad like us, now, of course, if you're a power lifter, CrossFitter, okay, cool. But most lads in the gym, what do they want? They want to look good, which means have a low enough body fat and have a large amount of muscle mass. Now, of course, training-wise, that takes a few years to accumulate muscle mass and accumulate strength, blah, blah, blah. But everything you just said, I think we need to crop that down, mate, because that is an absolute gem, what you just said. In terms of the animal-based diet, all of the benefits that come from that, which you just described, only aid in the pursuit of lower body fat and more muscle mass, which is pretty much what 90% of gym lads want.
100%. You know, it's what majority of people want. And whilst the standard of where they're looking to get to might be different. I mean, even look at me. I'm an advanced lifter now in terms of how long I've been lifting, like 7 years or whatever. And I've built, you could argue it all you want, but like I said, the proof is there, the pictures are there, the videos are there of my physique. And, you know, I've built probably close to 10 pounds of muscle mass in less than a year through training harder. That is a big part of it. Like how I train has changed in all fairness. I wouldn't put it all down to the diet. I train much more like a bodybuilder now and a lot harder. But that diet change is huge. You know, I put on, in theory, I was 67 at the start of the year. I'm now 69 and a bit, like I say, and I'm as lean, if not leaner. So even that alone, that's 5 pounds in like four months, which is unheard of for someone that is an advanced lifter, that isn't a newbie lifter. And all I think is, I wish I'd done this when I started. You know, I gained a lot of muscle when I started. Imagine how much progress I'd have made. It's like, it's a slow process. But if with all this information out there now, if someone went out and went, right, I've never stepped foot in a gym in their life, I've never watched my diet, and they 180'd that and started training hard and, you know, was conscious of their form and how intense their training is and their recovery, and then ate on this diet or whatever diet works for them, but on this diet, I was really strict with it. The progress you could make in a year would be insane for majority of people. It would be absolutely nuts how much they could actually gain, really.
We could round this off. So to maximise what most lads want is the pursuit of muscle growth. We've just gone over diet, and I think we've gone over all the benefits of the animal-based diet, which I firmly agree with, which you have got proof in the pudding of how it works.
100%.
Likewise me. But I think what we should also highlight is approach to training. Now, me and you could go back and forth on opinions of training programs and opinions of the best exercises, opinions of blah, blah, blah. But the number one thing, which I knew, but I didn't dial it in for literally, like, I've been lifting since I was like 18, 19. And it was only since I've been here in this country, it's only the last 6 months, I've literally tracked every workout, like old school booklet style, like writing it down, literally. The bottom line is, you need to track your progress. And the number one thing, which most people know, but they just don't do out of pure laziness or they just don't know how effective it is the bottom line is you need to be getting stronger. That's just a baseline fact. Like, I don't know about you, mate, but I've been doing sort of like Mike Menser-ish, Tom Platz-ish, Dorian Yates-ish, HIIT sort of style stuff. If you come in, you're doing bench press, you need to get a certain kilo, but this week you need to get 2 extra reps. Now, if I do that, I know that I've improved and I can leave that gym a happy man. Now, if you apply that over all exercises and you track that there and throughout, your body has no choice but to grow in one way or another, whether that's strength or size. But in my opinion, strength and size are synonymous anyway. So,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, do you agree that progressive overload in the terms of gym is the number one? Or if you've got any more additives to say to that, what would they be?
100%. I mean, for me, I've always tracked. You know, I could literally go upstairs and get you a booklet from 2014, 2015, from my training days. That was something that was drilled into me from that vegan coach I mentioned earlier from back in the day. I've done loads of different styles of training over the years. That's probably what's hindered my physique in the long run. You know, I did two years of CrossFit. I did 2 years of Olympic lifting. I did at least, probably spread across it, 2 years of powerlifting. So like committed to bodybuilding, I've probably only done about 3 years now, including the last year, in that style of training. But I've always tracked what I did no matter what. And I think that's one of the biggest keys, like you say, is making sure you're doing more. The amount of lads I see that go in the gym and they're doing 3 sets of 10 with the exact same weight they were 6 months ago, and they're making no progress and wondering why.
Yeah.
It's that. And, you know, what it creates, in my opinion, besides obviously lack of progressive overload, like you said, is of getting that extra rep, that extra set, the extra weight, wherever it be, is a lack of intensity. You know, muscle is built through intensity. Those 5 reps closest to failure on every single set are the only reps that really build muscle. It's like 98% of muscle is built on the 5 reps closest to failure in your set. Now, that's not me saying you should go to failure every single set you do, and whether it's you do 6 sets of 10 on a hack squat like Tom Platz, or 2 sets of 6 really heavy, say Paul Carter, but it's the intensity that matters. And so many lads miss out on that intensity by never tracking what they do, so therefore never pushing themselves and never going any heavier. If you just, like you say, have a notebook, who cares what it is? Literally notes on your phone, a bit of paper and a pen. Oh, last week I did 8-9 or 9-8-8 on this dumbbell bench press. Today I need to try and get 10-9-9. It's 3 reps, but you know, those 3 reps make a massive difference in the long run. Like you say, across 6 months, you've added 30 reps onto your dumbbell bench press. That's huge. And the two go hand in hand. You don't get stronger without building muscle, exactly like you said. And you don't build muscle without getting stronger. You don't get stronger without building muscle. So it's, you know, if you're getting stronger, you're probably building muscle. That's the biggest key. But yeah, I just think it creates a lack of intensity.
I think that's what most lads miss the trick on. And it's really not that hard. And to me, it's just a bit silly. If you're spending hours in the gym, like literally you are committing a lot of your time and a lot of your energy to this activity, why would you not maximize it with correct diet and correct workout tracking 100%. And intensity? I think the last thing that is important, and I've definitely made this mistake, is when I started tracking properly about 6 months ago, I did start building muscle and stuff, but I noticed I plateaued, even though I was still getting a bit stronger. And I took a look at it, and there was nothing wrong with the intensity. There was nothing wrong with the application of progressive overload. Me being excited and eager to get that next rep or that next set of dumbbells, for example, I didn't even realise, but my technique and form went out the window on, say, the last, 4 or 5 reps. For example, let's say on a dumbbell shoulder press, I got stronger the last 4 months from doing that full range of motion, getting the shoulders and elbows set up in the right fashion. Whatever it may be, you have to keep that technique as beautiful as the pursuit of intensity.
It goes hand in hand of, I'm not going to sit here and say every rep you do should be perfect, because I personally don't believe that. I think pushing your limits and having, say, 1 rep at the end of a set in a workout not be perfect is absolutely fine. And sometimes that helps you to build it on it next time, is that you just try and match that, but that last rep actually be better. But if 95% of your reps aren't the same as they were last week in terms of form, you're not actually getting any better. So it's this thing of you're building up, but like weight or whatever, but you're not actually progressive overloading, because you've probably quartered or halved the range of motion, you've halved the tempo, therefore you've halved the time of the tension. So you're not actually getting any better. You're not going to build any muscle. You've just picked up a heavier weight. Like, well done you. But, you know, and plateauing is a big thing. I think a lot of people get discouraged with it. Like you say, I'm stalling now, so I'm just going to go to the next weight and see what happens. But it's that when I'm doing 25 for 10 or 35 for 10, if I film them, and that's a big key in my opinion, is people should start filming their top sets in the gym. I know it can be annoying for some other people, but you don't know otherwise, in my opinion. If you lifted a heavier dumbbell with the exact same form for the same amount of reps, there's no opinion in it. You did it. It's fact. It's happened. Therefore, you have got stronger and you've most likely built more muscle, because there's no opinion based on that. It's a yes or no answer. Did you do it? Yes. Therefore, well, you've 100% gained muscle and got stronger and all the other stuff. But yeah, like you say, if you're breaking down your form for the sacrifice of the weight, you're not actually getting stronger. You're trying to get from A to B, but if you're spinning the wheels, you're not actually moving. And it's the same as going in and lifting the same weights all the time. You're there to just do the motions. You're not actually going to do anything. And then you're also, with the heavier weights, your risk reward goes down. You know, your risk of injury is going to go up, and your reward of muscle gain is going to go down. You know, I'm a perfect example. I've shredded my body. When in the first 2 years of lifting, I annihilated myself. I got way too strong for my own good. You know, I blew my right knee out with patella tendonitis. I tore both my rotator cuffs benching. I've had every injury under the sun in my first 2 years. And luckily I was quite young and I've fixed them all now and I'm fine.
Yeah.
It was all because I was like, 5 more kilos in the barbell. You know, like, how big's my ego or whatever. And then just blew my body up, and it was not. And then I got weaker, because the fastest way to be weak is to get injured. So it's literally pointless. And reminding people of that, like, form is paramount. Like, no matter what you're doing, what a progressive overload you're trying to apply that session, whether it's more reps, more sets, whatever, your form is the most paramount thing going.
One thing I would say though is, say you're incorporating something like, I don't know, like a chest finisher or a leg extension drop set or a side lateral drop set. Now, that might not really accumulate to your working sets, your sort of tracked progressive overload sets. I don't know. Some people track every single thing, but if you're just burning out on a safe exercise, like, for example, a leg extension, and you've done your working set and you put the pin down, your form is going to shit, but you're still getting a few extra why not sort of reps in. I don't think that's...
No, I completely agree. I think it's two things to be said there. One, the biggest thing I tell my clients is you should enjoy the gym. Everyone, if someone tells me they don't enjoy the gym, all it tells me is they've not tried enough different exercises in the gym to enjoy it. So you might hate bodybuilding, but CrossFit might be your thing. You might hate CrossFit, but powerlifting might be your thing. There's so many things you can do in the gym that if you don't like the gym, you've simply not tried enough things, in my opinion. And that's what the gym should be. The gym should be fun for you. And like you say, those little things at the end there, in my opinion, they're the fun bits. You know, pushing yourself beyond failure by going on a quadruple drop set on the leg extension just because you can is fun. I love that. Like, I love the feeling of legs being like lead. Like, if I can't walk when I go off the leg extension, that's good to me. I like that. So absolutely, they have a place. Yeah, okay. It's probably the most effective muscle building technique in the world. But to me,
you like it.
That's important to me. Like, enjoying the gym is massive. And secondly, I think a big thing of that is learning where your boundaries are as well, in terms of, I think a lot of people think they train hard, but they don't. And it's when you do sets like that, like you say, like this freaking triple drop set on the leg extension, where the risk is very, very low. You know, I'm not saying go out there and bang a quadruple drop set on squats, because you'll probably smash your spine to pieces. But you jump on a leg extension where you move, it's a closed chain exercise, and you're moving in one motion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, go to a failure and then drop it, and go to a failure again, and then drop it and go to a failure again, and learn how hard you can actually train. Because a lot of people go, oh man, that was failure. And I watch their set and think that was nowhere near better.
Failure. Yeah.
Doing sets like that shows you where you can push to, isn't it? Because it's a lot of it's mental. You know, how do you actually have another rep, or do you tell yourself you don't have another rep?
I think there's different ways of applying intensity, but the most important thing that we've repeated a few times now is, it doesn't matter what method you're doing or what way you like training, whether you're doing volume, HIIT, supersets, drop sets, blah blah. Are you going to failure? Are you activating that level of intensity? Because if you're not, your potential of muscle growth is going to be quite low. And I think that's what people need to start understanding. And another thing as well, if you're doing like a working set on an exercise, it's your heaviest weight, when it gets to that 6th, 7th rep, you're feeling pretty fucked by that point anyway. And it is pretty tough. And yes, your tempo is slowing down. Yes, you are feeling absolutely bullied by that weight. But at that point, you've probably got 3 or 4 more if you really fucking try it. You probably do.
100%.
So I think what me and Josh are saying, guys, is push your fucking sets. Go watch the Tom Platz training video and get inspired.
100%. I have a drop set I call the drop set of death, which I stole from Paul Carter, which is Bulgarian split squats. So like rear foot elevated split squats. Yeah. You hold a weight in one hand and you hold onto the squat rack on the other hand, so you've got some balance. Yeah. You just go for like the heaviest you can for 8 reps, like I say, a kettlebell. Straight kettlebell down, kettlebell down, kettlebell down, kettlebell down, and you keep dropping to your body weight. So you're probably accumulating over 100 reps. Now, when I make people do that, I don't make everyone do it, don't get me wrong, And a lot of my clients say to me, like, why are we doing this? Like, what is this going to do? I'm like, I promise you now, this won't build as much muscle as if we just did like a normal split squat and did 3 really heavy sets of 8. But that's not why we're doing. We're doing it so you can actually learn mentally how hard you can push. Because the amount of people that, like I say, think they're pushing hard and it aren't, and then you give them something like that, and it just breaks them mentally and physically. But each time they drop and they do another 8, it's forcing in their mind, oh, I could do 8. Oh, I can do another 8. Oh, I can do another 8. And that's what you're trying to reinforce, is this thing of you can do it. You just got to not talk yourself out of it. So when I'm there just giving them another kettlebell and they're literally 80 reps deep because they're 10 drops deep and they're crying, their legs shaking and they're spasming. Like I've had like grown men like nearly in tears on that drop set. It is the worst thing to ever do.
Savage guy, bro.
And I love watching it. Like I've only done it probably 3 times in my life because it is so bad. It's like David Goggins says, it's callous in your mind, isn't it?
Yeah, you're definitely like me. You're a bit of a masochist personal trainer. You like to see your clients.
I love it. I love watching people suffer. Especially, I think as well, because you know they're improving from it. So it's like, yeah, okay, they hate it, but they know they're improving from it mentally and physically. So like, I get to get the benefit of, I get to watch you suffer, which is hilarious. And then like in 2 weeks' time, you'll come back and like, oh, I feel great now. And then I get the benefit of that because I get the good feeling that you feel better.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's a win-win for me.
It all comes from a place of love, innit? So yeah.
100%.
Just a disclaimer, guys. We wouldn't make old Doris do a Bulgarian triple superset.
What are we talking about? Doris, get in there. Kettlebells, do that drop set. Get going.
Slap your patella now.
Get in there and do it.
Right, so I think we've covered how to maximise the pursuit of muscle in nutrition and working out. I think now, mate, we'll go into more of the deeper stuff, more of like the mindset sort of stuff. In terms of mindset, are you interested in philosophy? Are you interested in...
Massively. I mean, I think the big thing is it's been lost in like the current years. You could look at society as a whole and look at the results that men get nowadays in terms of everything from financially to spiritually to physically, mentally. We can just see the decline because of this modern world and the Western world. And, people have strayed away from the basics of life that make people happy, in my opinion. And a lot of it comes down to, who you think you are and what you're willing to do to yourself to do it. A lot of people become very happy with the bare minimum and then wonder why they get the bare minimum out of things. And I think a lot of people don't want to make themselves uncomfortable nowadays through anything, through physical training, through like asking themselves hard questions. Like I redid David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me a few months ago on audiobook. And one of the biggest things I took away from that is like, ask hard questions, but be ready to give hard answers to yourself. This thing of who actually are you? And a lot of people tell themselves they deserve to be somewhere else. But they don't. You deserve to be where you are. I'm not saying everyone is like that. That's before I get attacked on people like, you're not doing this. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying a lot of your results of who you are as a person come from the efforts you put into the areas of life that you need to succeed in.
I think society, particularly in the Western world, has become extremely and almost too convenient. And in terms of men, a lot of blokes now, I don't know this for certain, don't get me wrong, that there's a lot of strong men in the Western world, whatever, but I think a lot of blokes don't have someone directly there, say when they're young, who sort of model after or look up to, or the people they do look up to would be like little Jimmy in his room, who's just like a normal lad. He's like looking up to like little baby or someone like that, and it's like that is not even a real perception of reality. And
you're right. Like the Western world is very messed up, and in my opinion, like I need to think about how I'm going to construct the next few sentences so I don't get cancelled. But the Western world is weak nowadays, in my opinion. I don't mean that horribly to people.
I agree.
But I'm not saying like mental health isn't a massive thing, because it is. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, because it absolutely does. But what I'm saying is that like the standard of where people, what people think is hard is so far gone now. And I think that's like contextually, no one has any context anymore. Like if your world is this big and you're crying about your GCSEs or whatever, it seems like a massive problem because your GCSEs are this big, your life's this big, so it's like a huge thing. If you take yourself out of your life and put context into it and make your world this big through, you know, other people's problems that don't live in a first world country and all this, that, and the other, and what people they've been able to achieve, people like David Goggins or Cameron Haynes, these people that completely push the boundaries mentally and physically, you'll see that the stress of your GCSEs is this big, your world is this big. It's like, oh, it's really not that much of a problem. I think people allow themselves to get overwhelmed with things now because they don't put their barriers in place. And for me, it's a big thing of looking for your wins. For example, I use like cold showers. I've had a cold shower now every day for like bar a couple of days where I've had some like physicalities that meant I couldn't have a cold shower for whatever reason. But pretty much for like probably 200 days straight now or something. And I started it for the recovery benefits, which it definitely has had. But a big thing is it's a mental win for me. You know, there's not been a single morning that I've woken up and gone, oh, I can't wait to get in that cold shower. Like it's shit. I hate it. I hate every second of being in that cold shower. But it's this thing of, for me, it's a win. You know, like I'm looking to get wins in my day as early as possible, as much as possible. So when I tell myself I'm going to cold shower in the morning and then I go do it, by keeping that promise to myself, that's a win. Because you're going to be served losses every day. Something bad will happen to you that's out of your control. Someone might hit your car. Someone might pass away. Someone might get ill. You might get ill. There's going to be loads of things in your life that you can't control that is a loss. But if I go into my day with 10 wins because I've cold showered when I said I was going to cold shower, I've done all the work I said I was going to do. I've eaten to the diet I said I was going to eat to at the times I said I was going to do it to. I've trained in the way I said I was going to train at the time I said I was going to train to. All of those promises that I made myself that I've then followed through with, they're wins in my corner. So when I get served a loss in the day, it's like, well, okay, it's a loss, but it doesn't matter. Like certain losses carry heavier loads. But if someone scratches my car or someone dings this or someone, do you know what I mean? Someone cancels on me last minute or whatever. I'm like, well, that's a loss, but who cares? Because I'm 10-1 in my day now, so it doesn't really matter.
I think there's a lot to take away from what you said. Something that really stood out to me, which I firmly agree with, was you said someone might perceive a problem like this and it might be like the end of the world, but really it's like this. Now, I want to use the example of Normandy D-Day in 1945. You literally had 16-year-old boys running onto a beach getting shot at by machine gun fire, and they had no choice to be there. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like they were like the strongest mentally guys and they were like, yeah, I can't wait to do this. Of course they were shitting themselves, but just like you said, if you're worried about a breakup or GCSE results or something like this, now me and you aren't saying those things aren't bad and you should man up and stop being a pussy. No, like you can be mentally affected by things, you can be upset, you can be not okay, but it's all right to be all them things. It's all right to, for example, like to have bad mental health, but if you are not sticking to your guns and if you are not sticking disciplined as a man and you are not doing the necessary things that you need to do that day, whether you're happy or sad, then of course those little losses, as you told them as, of course they're going to affect you and make you feel like shit because you haven't built, like you said, the mental calluses, the physical calluses, or the life experience to be able to withstand something that's bad. That is bad. Like
100%.
Like it's all right to not have a good day, but in my opinion, as a bloke, it's not all right to let yourself down.
This is it. Like everyone's going to have a bad day. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not saying like don't get upset by things, don't get angered by things. You know, emotions are natural and it's fine to have them, but how you react, how you choose to respond to your emotions is what matters. So whether you're upset by something, whether you're angered by something, like who you are in that moment is what matters. And that's what carries you forward in terms of your results as a person as well. Like every time you react to your emotions, you're losing because you're allowing your emotions to take over and decide who you are and how you act, rather than sticking to who you know you should be. I used to be so argumentative when I was a teenager, so bad, and nowadays I'm really not like that. Couldn't tell you the last time I like raised my voice at someone or anything like that because I just don't see the point. Like I'm reacting from emotion when I do that.
You're losing your ground.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not being who I know I want to be. And it's 100% that. It's like you say, it's seeing the problems as they are and being able to disconnect from that problem and then looking at it logically and going, well, what am I going to do about it? How do I sort these things out? And I think a big thing is like I say, like I think it's just people are just a bit weak now and don't allow themselves context. You know, it's that old saying where hard men create easy times create soft men create hard times create hard men. And I think we had a big generation of hard men and women, don't want to like be sexist, but hard people coming through the last 50 years that then created this easy world that we live in now, where, like you said earlier, everything's convenient. If I want to like victim blame, because I think a lot of people do that nowadays. A lot of people are victims in their own stories, and they're the lies they tell themselves. Like I said earlier, when you're like, you know, you got to ask hard questions, hard truths, and hard answers. A lot of people tell themselves a false rhetoric, and you believe it because you tell yourself enough times, don't you? But it's this thing of everything's so accessible now and so easy that when hard times come along or hard things come along, people can't handle it anymore, because we are a soft generation now, in my opinion. We aren't hard men anymore, hard women anymore, we're hard people. So we are getting stuck by these hard times. Like, it is hard times now. You know, inflation's through the roof, cost of living crisis, housing crisis, and all these other things that are happening in this country, and everyone's, you know, upset by it, and as they should be. Like, no one's hard enough to do anything about it, because everyone's just like, oh well, what can someone else do about it for me? Like, why aren't you looking at what you can do about it? I'm definitely not saying these hard things and hard times don't exist, because they do, and I'm not saying that you should not be upset by them or whatever. It's how you react to them is what matters, in my opinion. Like you said, like, if you're having a bad day, it shouldn't matter. Like, you should be disciplined enough to do what you need to do anyway. Yeah, probably a hard truth for people to hear, but it is how I feel about things, at least.
Yeah, and that probably winds a few people up, because it rubs them the wrong way, because it will subconsciously remind them of what you've just said, you know. But that's not a bad thing. People need to hear this stuff, particularly young men and that, who there's all these conveniences, all these easy things. Like, for example, it's so easy to go down the shop and, like, I see, like, well, when I was in the UK, I see like 13-year-old lads smoking those fucking little throwaway vapes. Oh,
that's like my biggest pet peeve. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. If they had never invented these like pretty plastic pastel coloured things, no one would be vaping. Like, if you still had some 50-year-old bloke with a beard and the worst skin you've ever seen, and that like box and a tiny bit of oil at the top, and that was the only vape that existed, like, these teenage girls with their painted nails would not be picking them bad boys up, like, ugh. But because it's lovely and it's pink and it's pastel, they're like, ooh, tastes like cherry.
Bro, do you know what I saw on Instagram, bruv? I saw, it was quite a while ago, but like, this girl has colour coordinated, her dress, her nails, and her fucking vape, bro.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, mate. It doesn't surprise me.
What the fuck?
And in like 20 years, it will come out how bad they were when people were getting all sorts of illnesses from it. But at the minute, it's one of the, again, it's the thing of like, well, it's easy to choose and to do that. It's easier. Like, it's a peer pressure thing as well. I personally think, you know, I don't drink, haven't drank for a long time now. And I still go out with my friends and they still try to make me drink, like, not in a horrible way, but they're just being
of course, lads. Just lads.
Like they do, and I choose not to. But it's the peer pressure of like, well, it's easier. It's probably just easier to vape now. Like, vaping probably is what drugs and drinks were when we were their age. Like, it's easier to just vape because everyone vapes now. And again, it's this thing of, I'm not saying 15-year-olds should be asking themselves tough questions or whatever, but it's like, I don't want to drink because it's not who I want to be. And like, it's probably just easier to vape now, isn't it? Just fucking have this shitty pink thing in your hand. I absolutely hate it. It's diabolical. I like, one of my mates came around recently, and he had a vape. I don't know how he even started it, but he had a vape, and I bullied him so hard in like 2 hours he was here, he stopped vaping.
You threw it away?
I lit his vape up and threw it away. I was like, you're literally never invited around here again if you carry on vaping. And he stopped. Like, he doesn't vape anymore.
Yeah, that's mate, but like, that's like a good example of peer pressure, though, so fair play. So yeah.
Yeah, it's probably not the best idea, but again, it's just one I can't stand it.
That's good, man. I think we've had a smashing conversation, mate. I think we've covered everything, how to be a good I don't know, just to be good in the gym, just to be good in your mind. So hopefully it will help a few people. I've got one final question for you, Josh, and you can take a minute to answer it. It's a bit cliche, it's a bit cringe, but yeah.
I'm ready.
What does it mean to you, or what is your definition of a good man?
I think a good man is someone who morally holds himself accountable to who they want to be and also who they should be. So in terms of like, I morally want to like look after people around me. I want to look after my family, my friends, my missus and whatnot. Like that's a big thing for me, stepping up for them when it's important, but also stepping up for myself. And what I mean by that is I think a lot of people nowadays, it's seen as selfish to look after yourself first. But in my opinion, a good man is someone who does look after themselves first, because then they provide the best version of themselves to others. So it's holding myself accountable to that. So I would say it's someone that holds themselves accountable to the morals they have by their own actions. So I really have changed the way I look at life now massively the last 3 months, from the things I've read and the podcasts I've listened to and whatnot. And a lot of it comes down to that kind of like stoic life and mindset. So slowly getting there, mate, but it takes time.
Yeah, hopefully people that view this, they'll be able to get something good knowledge that we've given. Well, thank you so much, bro.
Yeah, thank you very much, mate. I appreciate it. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. The only reason I'm cancelling is because I'm getting all hangry, bruv. I'm getting all fucking all...
Ready for a steak, mate. Ready for some steak.
Yeah.
I mean, watch that cholesterol, though, Johnny. I'll tell you online, mate. It's bad for you.
Mate, fuck that. Oh, mate, I'm striving for that heart failure, but at least
yeah, exactly.
testosterone's high. Do you know what I mean? So
I'll die at 40, but I'll die at 40 with some serious pecs. So if they even matter, who cares?